Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are chatting this morning with Mr. Shawn Roberts, as I mentioned before the break. We are chatting with Mr. Shawn Roberts, and of course, he's the Managing Director of the Recycling, Waste and Logistics Limited, and also for TRRI, the Tobago Recycling Resource Initiative.
Okay.
So, good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Roberts. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ms. Kandace. Good to be here again. Share the live and compliments of the season to Tobago, Trinidad, rest of the world region. Share the life, share the life.
Certainly. And then the last time you were here on the morning show, we we're not here on the best of terms.
Okay.
Right? Not with us, but in terms of there's some things that were happening in the back end that had us all questioning what's going on with the future of recycling here in Tobago.
Right.
And of course, viewers, and if you had been paying attention to our newscast this week, you would have seen on Monday that we did speak to Mr. Roberts. So he gave us a little perspective on what's been happening. But before we get into what's happening now, Mr. Roberts, I just want you to just in a nutshell, just briefly give us a capsule as to what led us to where we are here.
Well, it was the funding support from the EMA had stopped in April. So we basically had to navigate, without the support from April right up till November, right up till now. So basically it was an issue where, out of the total budget of 5.2 million was allocated provided by the Green Fund to the EMA for the recycling development for Tobago. Basically what had happened is that is only 30% of that funds we actually received from since EMA and the Green Fund joined TRI from February 2021. All right. With that being said, I wish to update you that the THA and the EMA is, completing negotiations in regards to dealing with the arrears from May right up till November, right? In regards to the 70% difference, I know that is that negotiation is ongoing, and that will continue. But seeing that they are the signing parties, we at RW will prefer to leave them to, continue that process and work that out, while we at RW will continue to fulfill our obligations with processing as much of the recyclables that comes to the facility, despite of the few limitations and challenges that we experience. I must thank the people of Tobago for their understanding and support, through that period, and having confidence to continue. So as I said before in the last interview, that we reached too far to turn back.
Certainly.
So right now, the Tobago House of Assembly via the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development actually had agreed to undertake the clearing of the bins in the interim. So that's why you see the bins have been reinstated, and it's still an ongoing process. So they will continue to deal with the collection, while our role is more focused on the processing. So what is happening now is that all partners have to play their respective roles and responsibilities in regards to moving forward. So, with all that is being said, I will want to now take things a step further, where just to show how TRI actually was established. And it was, it was established in November 2020, based on the milestones and deliverables was being established, to not just only to become 50% waste less by 2025 and zero waste by 2030. It was to be able to bring a green sector to Tobago, and also we wanted to stimulate economic growth for the Tobago space, and also enable the circular economy activity. And it's something that I would like to share with the viewers about the three types of economies at scale from the recycling sector. So first to begin, the first economy, which is common, which is what you call a linear economy. That is where you do heavy extraction, production, consumption, and then disposal via landfill.
Yes.
Right? Then you have the second type of economy, which is what you call the recycling economy. That is lesser extraction, production, consumption, waste, and landfill. So people don't realize that in the recycling economy, you still generate waste. And unfortunately, it goes to the landfill, right? But what the establishment of the Tobago Recycling Resource Initiative was to focus on the third economy, which is called the circular economy, is where you do very low extraction, more production, consumption, waste, then recycle, reuse, repurpose, repair.
Certainly. And of course, this is the goal of where we are going right now here in Tobago with the Recycling Resource Initiative and so on. And, you know, along with some of that is that even though we don't have a plant here in Tobago that does the recycling itself, what you guys do is to collect a lot of material and ship it off. So tell me about some of those things that you guys have been doing, like where some of our materials have been going to and so on.
Well, in fact, in order for, when you're talking about going towards zero waste to landfill, that is where you have a vibrant recycling sector, right? So what happens is that you have the three elements of the recycling sector, which is called the recovery, recycling, and manufacturing. So what the first stage we are at right now is the recovery, where you are extracting the material, you're collecting the material from the sources via curbside, drop-off bins, and even public deliveries and stuff, where the materials are sorted, compressed into bales or blocks, as you saw at the facility. We also crush them into flakes. So basically the plastics we ship to, in fact, I've shipped to a lot of countries where I have not even been as yet.
And tell me about some of those countries.
Let me tell you, I've shipped to Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Ecuador, Estonia, Poland, Greece, Dubai, Thailand, Hong Kong, China, and even as far I had actually shipped a certain type of waste to the Africas as well. I've done business in Nigeria, South Africa. You know, I've exported to all different parts of the world.
And if we're exporting recyclable material, you know, that also means that we are generating foreign revenue.
And in fact, that is something that basically is the last sector that is not dominated by any particular group, because in order for that to work is that you have to have collaborations among different players in the sector, including the public sector. I always tend to draw a reference from the energy sector and the recycling sector. They are similar because it involves multiple moving parts, right? So the reason why the energy sector is the heartland of the Trinidad and Tobago's economy is because they have the legislations that drives compliance and also drives the resources. That is why to get financing for the energy sector is much easier. Whereas the recycling sector, what we're trying to do is anybody that is getting into the green sector is able to go to the bank or any financial institution and get funding. We should not have to be always dependent on the groups like the IDB and the UN to be always competing for funding, right? So basically what we've been trying to do is more have the infrastructure established so that it can drive legislation. When you have the legislation, you drive compliance. So when the financial institutions see that you have, let's say, recycling is law, then you know the citizenry have to do it.
Yes.
So they know that it's guaranteed supply. when it is voluntary, what happens is that it can change. People can volunteer today and stop tomorrow. So now that is what drives investor confidence. That is where you see my management consultancy hat kicks in regards to that. So when you see you talking about sustainability, is where you supposed to, focus on the recovery side of things. When you know you can recover all as much of the waste material, then you can be able to determine the feasibility and viability of what processing facilities that you can set up. Take, for example, tire recycling. Everybody loves to do tire recycling. We also have partnerships with our operator in Trinidad that recycle tires. So what happened, that is one of RWL's advantage, is that we have a market for just about any type of waste you can talk about. So what we have done is that we brought samples, a lot of samples of the recycled tire, what you call the crumb rubber, to Tobago. And we have done a collaboration with SPEL, Study Park Enterprises Limited, and we have done some R&D with the batch testing of tire derived asphalt. So we have actually completed a series of tests, and when you check it with when you integrate recycled tires into your asphalt milk, your roads last about 10 to 15 years longer. So the intention when we did that more than a year ago, it was to more have the smart program that the THA had implemented to, pilot test it if it's like all fees and those roads that are in bad condition, so that you can be able to say, well, okay, from this, you can be able to now use it in other places. Now, yes, people may say, well, oh, if the roads are them good, that might affect certain business. But at the end of the day, once you keep paving proper roads, it encourages you to produce more roads, because you could never have enough roads in the country.
Certainly not.
So that is why we actually been using a lot of our crushed plastics, where we sort of scale down on exporting it, where we start to now do some R&D in using that for concrete mix, what you call eco concrete mix. Even the tires that have the fibers in it, and you do concrete mix with that you can do retaining walls that
because
give good compression.
the wires is like a bonded
Exactly.
agent and so on. And I want to, juxtapose this to what's happening right now in Dubai. And for folks, if you don't know what's happening in Dubai, we have COP28 happening at this point in time, where leaders from... Yes.
But I'm here.
Actually, I'm not going to talk about, the possibilities that I was supposed to be there as well.
Yeah.
But, of having the leaders from around the world come together and discuss some of the things that we need to do, especially where climate change is concerned. One of the major topics right now, and it's, there's a whole lot going on, is a reduction of the use of fossil fuel. And, here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's a massive conversation because our economy is based on the oil and gas sector.
In fact, well, I could touch on the energy sector because I've consulted for a few years in the energy sector, right? And one of the things that I've dealt a lot in the energy sector was dealing with the waste generated from energy, right? Even the waste generated from energy also can be recycled. Now, recently, years ago, you could have recycled from solid to solid, then solid to liquid. Now you can recycle liquid to gas. So waste energy is also a recycling process as well. So now, basically what you can do is when you have a waste energy plant, that is the last in line of defense for recycling. But you see with fossil fuels, as much as we focus our attention, yes, we have a lot of the oil and gas out of the sea. But however, the sargassum coming in January, right? So we brought in 2 biodigesters here in Tobago, and in fact, I have a meeting this morning where we have to implement the second one at a farm. So that is where you see you producing the biogas, the cooking gas. Now, once you see we start producing our own energy resources here in Tobago from natural-based resources, where you don't have to be scarring the land, you don't have to be going and farm stuff just to produce alternative energy. And that is where you see people have to understand that, that when you see you talking about climate change, it's because of the extraction of natural resources from the environment Even though if you're talking about progress, you're not supposed to talk about progress at the expense of the environment.
Yes, and then people don't, I mean, I'm not sure how many people
Yeah.
realize, but the plastics that we use actually come from oil.
That's right. But people don't realize that that plastics also, you can produce plastics from natural gas as well. Because people don't realize, I mean, I could tell you about the energy sector. When you find deposits of oil, right? Once you find a deposit of oil, you'll find a lot of gas around it as well. So now, if we start to now use our natural gas and make plastics, it's much cleaner, it's much environmentally friendly to use natural gas for plastics. Because we liquefy our natural gas and export it. If we start using it and blend that with the melamine and start using plastic, now the plastic is not as toxic as when you use oil. So you see, people have to understand about, the resources that we have. And because what we have been doing a lot is where we focus on, okay, we have the natural resources, we want to export it. Now, if we can now take what we have and start adding value to it, making end products out of it. Let's say, okay, Solly Park, we have Curry, we have our bluestone and stuff. If we start combining that with tires and stuff and packaging it, then now it's available for local applications, because people don't realize that it's very impossible right now to export recycled tires from rubber, because the world now is saturated with tire plants. Even though that same COP28 is now pressuring countries to now fully recycle their waste. So now basically what we do in our shop park, where we compressing the plastic bottles and crushing it and stuff, that is something where you have to, that is going to be where a policy can come, where we have to fully process it. Right now as we speak, that is where the government now is now mandating us at RWL to start doing, because now the requirements that you have to talk about trans-boundaries, transshipping of waste between countries. Now you have to now do further processing before you can export it. So it's things like those is where you have to have the infrastructure, the enabling environment to make these things happen. Because
and then it starts with us changing our mentality here in terms of how we deal with waste in Tobago and so on. And of course, it's Christmas time, folks. So and I'm going to keep telling you, it's Christmas time. So as you're cleaning out your homes, please remember to keep, and it's not just bottles, it's the juice packs, it's the tins, the laundry detergent, bottles. All of those things can be recycled, and all of those things are accepted at NIPDEC in Shaw Park at TRRI. So, Mr. Roberts, we're at the end of our interview this morning. We're out of time, but we just want to thank you for being on with us and for sharing it with your perspective. And don't worry, we continue to be connecting with Mr. Roberts as we see how we go forward with the recycling initiative.
Sure, at any time, we can keep in touch, so that at least we can, keep you posted on our work in progress. Even with the biogas and stuff, we'll keep you guys posted on that as well, on those. So any development are taking place with recycling and stuff, even though if we might be doing stuff in other islands, in fact, TRI have basically made an impact to the rest of the Caribbean.
And we're definitely going to get connected with that in the near future. So I want to thank you so much, Mr. Roberts. And viewers, have a safe and wonderful weekend, whatever you do as you go through cleaning and getting ready for Christmas. Don't forget to recycle. See you again on Monday.